Hello, amazing people. How are you doing? Welcome to my YouTube channel, Amazing Grace with Bosse. I want to thank all my subscribers for the love and encouragement. It's been awesome. If you're new on this channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the episodes. Okay? The first time I saw Mr. Peter Edochie, I think was in the early 80s when he played the lead role as Okonkwo on NTA adaptation of Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. Chief Peter Edochie looked like what I imagined Okonkwo to be. Tall, handsome, and strong. And over the years, I've also seen him play great roles. A great actor, I must say. His video advising women on how to deal with cheating husbands has gone viral. At first, I thought it was part of a Nollywood movie, but no, it's his candid opinion. There are a lot of reactions and mixed feelings about what he said. Many are rooting for him and clapping for him. Go, Chief! Go, Chief! Others are saying, what the heck? What is he talking about? This is unacceptable, demeaning, derogatory, chauvinistic, oppressive, and abusive. What do you think? I understand where he's coming from. Chief is 74 years old, and that is how most of his generation operated. He's speaking his truth and is entitled to his opinion. I am, however, thinking, now, this is just speculation, that perhaps Chief Peter Edochie is trying so hard to be like his character, Okonkwo, in the book Things Fall Apart. Recall that Okonkwo was a well-respected member of the community, but he feared femininity. His tragic flaw was fear of being like his father, Unoka. So he had this hard exterior. Okonkwo in the novel showed no outward emotion, even though he was a good father, he was a good man. He fought the softness in him so much that he became a slave to culture. In the novel, Okonkwo failed to adapt to changing times as the white man came to live amongst them. And of course, we know what happened at the end of the novel. Tragedy struck. If you have not read Things Fall Apart, please do. This appears to be what is playing out today. Chief Edochie has failed to appreciate the fact that times are changing. And if men are to continue with that archaic lord and master mindset of oppressing women, it may lead to disaster. Yes, in Chief's time, marriage was master-servant relationship for the most part, and it worked. That was the era when husbands called their wives and they answered, "Sir." Now, women call their husbands baby, babes, boo, boo-boo, darling, sweetie, honey, are now old school. Also, in his generation, all the women had to do was to have children, cook, clean, and take care of him in the other room. But we are in 2021, for crying out loud. Times have changed. Marriage now is a partnership with the husband as the head of the family. I will try to address the issues he raised one by one. He said, if your husband is cheating, buy condoms and nicely put a packet of condom in his suitcase when he's traveling. I guess that also applies to putting condoms in his jackets, trousers, and agbada when leaving for work or any social event, because he may decide to take a detour to meet his side chick, or maybe pick up an Ikbaraja because he's a man and he's entitled. He went on to say that if you put a condom in your husband's suitcase and he sees it, he will know that you have his best interests at heart, and that will make him feel guilty. Really? I'm laughing. It's obvious Chief doesn't understand Latin. There's a saying in Latin, and it will translate in English. It says, an instrument ready for action has no conscience. So, the issue of a man feeling guilty because his wife packed condom for him is not likely. The man has planned his rendezvous. No psychological James Bond will stop it. And seriously speaking, a husband who is the head of the family is an adult. Is he not supposed to know the consequences of unprotected sex with all the HIV, gonorrhea, gonococcus, syphilis, and all the STDs around? So he needs his wife to buy him condoms before he knows that she cares? Really? Mr. Peter Odoche went on to say that women run to divorce their husbands because they claim their husbands cheated on them. That's not true at all. I am 55 years old. I am a mother and a grandmother. My first child is 33 years old, so I have been around for more than half a century. I can honestly tell you that I do not know of any woman who left her husband because he cheated. The average woman wants to keep her home. So most women do not leave their husbands because of cheating. Where is she going to? The grass is not greener outside. Cheating is not the deal breaker for the most part for most women. It's the offshoots of the cheating that is the deal breaker. Namely, disrespect, neglect, and abuse. For some, it is emotional. For others, it is physical. Women have husbands who are serious cheats. They're still managing to keep the home front together. Unfortunately, most women have come to understand, or maybe say accept, that some men cannot zip up. It takes more than a cheating spouse for a marriage to go south. The problem is that the men want to eat their cake and have it. There's a standard of living that is applicable to all humans, irrespective of gender, race, color, or religion, and even culture. And that is respect. Men should stop dishing out what they cannot take. Men want to oppress and terrorize women and still want to be revered and worshipped. Every human being has some level of rebellion, whether male or female. We just try to manage it. Even babies are rebellious sometimes. If you force babies to eat sometimes, they refuse. How much more a grown woman? You cannot continue to oppress women and tell them not to protest and tell them to shut up. Kole work. It's a natural survival instinct to resist oppression of any kind. Let men stop oppressing women and taking women for granted. Let them start to love women as God directed and see if women will not become mumu for them. If a man expects his woman to be an angel in his life, then he should create a heaven for her. Chief also made reference to King Solomon, who had over 1,000 wives and concubines. According to the Bible, King Solo was just 60 years old when he died. By today's standard and the level of immorality, I think there are many men who have beaten King Solomon's record of more than 1,000 women in their lives. He went on to say, if your husband decides to take more wives, what can you do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Well, Chief is spot on there. He's so right. And that is because he knows that nothing will happen indeed. There are no consequences for their actions, so the impunity continues. I'm wondering, when couples take vows of chastity, fidelity, faithfulness, and commitment before man and God, should the vows not be kept? Is the goalpost supposed to change when the game has already started? Have wedding vows become words couples just recite to get a certificate? If you don't plan to keep your vows, then don't take it. And that goes for men and women. Most people these days practice cafeteria Catholicism, picking and choosing which religious laws to live by and which parts of the Holy Book to obey or disobey. In that same video, Chief said when his father was 40 years old and wanted to marry, his uncle just went to the community and saw one beautiful 15 years old maiden, identified her, and boom, palm wine and kola nuts changed hands and she became a wife. He went on to say that his shy mother had 10 children, 7 boys and 3 girls, and she was still shy and could not look at the father in the eyes. Please tell me, what can a 15 years old share or say to a 40 years old Baba? She will have to endure and be silent until thy kingdom come. Is that what we wish for our daughters? No way. The girls of today are educated and exposed, and they know what they want. They don't have the patience for arrant nonsense. They are not the type you pick in the village square. Our daughters know their rights, and they are aware that the man is the head of the home, and that a woman should submit to her husband. By the way, I don't know of any woman who wants to be the head of her household when her husband is there. We love the neck position. Now, this is my take. Chief has experienced his generation, and he's lucky to be alive to see what is happening in the 21st century. He's a gentleman trying so hard to hold on to culture that no longer serves the society. The good thing is that even his children, at least his son, Yul, a successful actor, does not agree with some of his positions. For his son to disagree with him, it means that Peter Edochie raised his children to be able to speak their minds. So the guy is not as tough and as old school as he portrays. And I think it will have great impact if he starts to use his celebrity status to educate young men to be more responsible, because times have changed. The responsibility of a successful marriage does not rest with women alone. The men must play their parts. So, Chief Edochie's statement is sending the wrong signal to young men, and he appears to be setting them up for failure, as well as encouraging them to continue the circle of oppression, intimidation of women, And unfortunately, that advice will not work in this century. Kò lè work. Let me round up with King Solomon, who was referred to as the wisest man ever to live. And yet, he was so foolish. He had a harem of 1,000 women, and mostly pagan women and Igbarajas, which means that intelligence is not a good escape for evil. So, men, be wise. Don't allow 5 minutes pleasure define your life. Life is much more than dancing under the sheets. And that's how we wrap up today's show. Until I come your way again, be kind and zip up. Please like, share, and subscribe to Amazing Grace with Bosse.